Phil.
The president started the process of reclassifying more than 50,000 federal employees as Schedule F. We've already seen him march through a number of government agencies. I'm curious, should we expect mass firings, or is this a case-by-case approach, a scalpel or a sledgehammer?
Well, look, as you saw on Friday, the president put out a statement about it. The Office of Personnel Management reclassified workers. They're now called scheduled policy/career. And all the president is trying to do is ensure that federal workers are being held accountable for corrupt behavior. If they are engaging in corruption as a government worker, they should no longer have their job. I think that's pretty common sense. He also believes that bureaucrats should be acting in accordance to the will of the American public, who duly elected this president. Not just this president, but all future presidents. If you work for the government, you should be adhering to the will of the American public and advancing the administration's goals and interests. And if you are not doing that, then you should go find another job whose interests you align with. So as for specific firings, I would defer you to the specific agencies, but the president in this move and Office of Personnel Management, it will make it easier to get rid of rogue bureaucrats who are engaging in corruption.
On April 22, 2025, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt held a press briefing where she addressed several key issues, including a significant policy change regarding federal employees. She announced the reclassification of certain federal workers into a new category called Schedule Policy Career, which removes some civil service protections to make it easier to dismiss employees accused of corruption or not supporting President Trump's agenda. Leavitt emphasized that federal workers must align with the administration goals and that those who do not should find other jobs. This move aims to enhance accountability and swiftly remove employees in policy-influencing roles for poor performance or misconduct. Karoline Leavitt's White House press briefing covered a wide range of topics. Trade negotiations. Leavitt highlighted progress in trade talks, mentioning 18 proposals from various countries and ongoing discussions with 34 countries that week. She noted the vice president announced terms for a trade deal with India and discussed efforts to de-escalate trade tensions with China, economy, and Federal Reserve. She addressed questions about the Federal Reserve, independence, the president's desire for lower interest rates, and the administration policy on maintaining the dollar as the world's reserve currency for long-term fiscal stability and economic growth. Immigration. Leavitt spoke about the administration's focus on deporting illegal immigrants, estimating millions in the country illegally, and the need for more funding and ICE agents to enforce immigration laws. Environmental issues and Earth Day. She referenced EPA Administrator Zeldin work and investigations into environmental concerns such as garbage and sewage pollution from China and Mexico. International affairs. The briefing touched on President Trump's call with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, focusing on Iran negotiations and broader Middle East issues, Supreme Court and legal matters. Leavitt mentioned the administration's stance on Harvard's lawsuit related to federal funding and compliance with federal law, emphasizing zero tolerance for violations or harassment on campuses. Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, stated that President Trump fully supports Israel's military actions in Gaza and emphasized that Hamas, along with groups like the Hezbollah and Iran, will face severe consequences for terrorizing Israel and the United States. She confirmed that Israel consulted the Trump administration before launching its recent airstrikes on Gaza, which broke the ceasefire and led to significant casualties. Leavitt condemned Hamas for its role in the conflict, particularly for refusing to release hostages and playing games in the media with lives, making clear that the administration holds Hamas responsible for the ongoing violence. She noted that the U.S. engaged in direct talks with Hamas officials to negotiate the release of American hostages, with Israel's consultation throughout. But those negotiations ultimately stalled due to Hamas's unwillingness to comply with terms. Leavitt warned that President Trump is not afraid to stand for law-abiding people and will respond strongly to threats from Hamas and its allies, indicating a readiness for escalated U.S. involvement if necessary. The administration's stance is firm in supporting Israel's right to defend itself and in demanding the safe return of hostages held by Hamas. During the press briefing, reporters asked White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt a range of substantive questions on key administration policies and current events. Here are some of the main questions and Leavitt's responses. Trade negotiations. Reporters inquired about progress and specifics regarding trade talks with multiple countries. Leavitt responded that the administration was actively engaged with 34 countries that week and had submitted 18 formal proposals. She highlighted the vice president's announcement of terms for a trade deal with India and efforts to ease tensions with China. Immigration enforcement. Questions focused on the administration's plans to address illegal immigration and deportations. Leavitt estimated there were possibly up to 20 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. and emphasized the need for increased funding and ICE agents to deport as many as possible swiftly. Federal Reserve and economic policy. Press asked about the president's views on interest rates and the Federal Reserve's independence. Leavitt affirmed the Fed's independence while noting the president's desire for lower interest rates and stressed the importance of maintaining the dollar as the world's reserve currency for long-term economic stability. Environmental issues. Reporters sought details on environmental investigations, particularly pollution concerns. Leavitt mentioned ongoing EPA inquiries into garbage and sewage pollution originating from China and Mexico, underscoring the administration's commitment to environmental accountability. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Journalists questioned Leavitt about recent leaks and controversies involving Secretary Hegseth. She defended him, calling his work monumental and attributing the leaks to disgruntled Pentagon employees who were part of his inner circle but opposed his leadership. Israel-Hamas conflict and international affairs. Leavitt addressed questions about the administration's stance on Israel's military actions and hostage negotiations, affirming strong support for Israel and condemning Hamas.
Call with Netanyahu today?
I did speak to the president about it. It was a good call. They spoke particularly about Iran and the negotiations that are underway with Iran and the United States. And the president has made it very clear repeatedly, but I'll reiterate, there is no daylight between the United States of America and the state of Israel. He stands strongly behind our ally. He's made it quite clear when it comes to Iran that we want to see a deal, and Iran has a choice to make. But the president has also made it very clear, and he reiterated that in his call with Prime Minister Netanyahu today about the need for Iran to never obtain a nuclear weapon. I do have one more bit of news that I would like to share with all of you. Just give me 1 second to find it. And it's in regards to the terrorist attack that took place in India earlier today. The president has been briefed by the National Security Advisor, and he's being kept up to speed as more facts are learned. What we know already is dozens were killed and even more were injured in a brutal terrorist attack in a popular tourist location in South Kashmir.